So we talked earlier in the show. I asked you what you thought or what you think of this idea that the government has to ban cell phones in all schools starting in the fall and through the entire day, not just in classrooms. Now, I should point out, and I said this during the question, a majority of adults, when you ask what they think of the idea, agree with this idea. And I think a lot of that obviously has to do with the fact that when we as adults, were in school, we didn't have smartphones. We didn't need to call our parents all the time. And the suggestion from others is, well, that's unfair. That was then, this is now, and this is not perhaps as bad as, we think it is. Although the Minister of Education, Bernard Drinville, when he talked about this last week, said, look, he didn't make this decision in a vacuum. He conferred with other experts. Here's actually what he said for what he's expecting this will do.
There will be more concentration, less distraction, less intimidation, more socialization, students talking to each other instead of being on their cell. This is what the evidence concludes.
This is what the evidence concludes. His final words there. This after a variety of different people got involved. There were different groups, committees studying this. But I don't think everyone's on board. Dr. Sara Grimes is a professor at McGill University. She's an expert in children's digital media culture and children's rights in the digital environment, and she is on the line. Dr. Grimes, thanks for the time this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let me begin by asking, you heard what the minister said. You know what the government's move here is designed to do. Do you agree or disagree with this, or is it more nuanced than that?
It's more nuanced than that. I mean, they've tried these types of bans in other places. They have not had those types of positive impacts that he's describing. And he's kind of ignoring, I think, a number of other larger issues that kids are facing, not just on their cell phones, but kind of across their digital experiences.
Can you elaborate? What are those challenges as far as the kids are concerned?
I mean, so digital technologies are really a huge part of kids' lives. They're a huge part of our lives, too. We're working with them. We have all of these kinds of platforms that cross over our different devices that are synced or, bring in notifications. And taking away one of the screens in one context doesn't really solve the kind of larger issues to do with the use of persuasive design by a lot of the platforms, as well as, I gotta say, like a lack of digital literacy and support for teaching digital literacy like across the spectrum from K to 12. So it's taking the problem kind of but out of more schools. There's already a number of schools that ban cell phone use in classrooms or even on the premises already. But they're trying to take the screens out of the schools and offloading a lot of responsibility onto kids and parents to manage, just as tricky kind of decision making, persuasive design that's really designed to compel, these notifications that are constantly being sent, as well as a larger kind of like lack of real kind of dealing with the problems that kids are facing in terms of their own communication and relationships with each other and how they use technologies to mediate that, to build them, but also, at times to engage in really destructive behaviors. So yeah, it's I've heard it called a Band-Aid solution. I don't think it's quite a Band-Aid solution. It is a displacing of the problem, and I really hope that it will come with a huge amount of money for improved digital literacy that teachers can bring into the classroom to continue to address these issues, even if they're not, confronting the devices head on.
So when you talk about digital literacy and teachers being able to sort of pass on whatever information would help these students, understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, how much of that falls on, the people who, you kind of alluded to this, who manufacture these apps to be what we call sticky to begin with? Where's the onus on them to make that any better or change that in any way?
I mean, that's a perfect question. Where is the onus on them? I mean, they should be the first to have to deal with new regulation and to, really be, since they haven't been putting safeguards on a lot of these different platforms and software programs and like marketing tactics, I would love to see the government take aim there, because these platforms will continue to be part of all of these kids' lives, throughout their days. And, even households that try to ban them, then they go off to university, or they graduate, into an older age bracket where they are allowed, and they don't have the literacy or the savvy to even, potentially set their privacy settings, let alone know how to deal with all of this stuff. So, I would love to see industry being regulated. I think that should be the first step, not, forcing a number of teachers and principals to bring in these, bans that are going to be really hard to enforce, and spending a lot of time and energy doing that, as opposed to dealing with, what the real problem is, which is a set of business practices that are really already known to be detrimental to kids. Kids themselves complain about it, and they're just continuously allowed to continue using these business practices, these design prompts, persuasive and dark pattern designs, with very little regulatory oversight.
As you describe this, and I think about, good luck to teachers trying to teach that. Imagine the situation parents are in when they have a child coming home and they have to explain, well, we're taking your phone away. Parents are not equipped to be able to explain this to kids, though, either.
No, it's true. And, the more that we kind of shirk responsibility from one person to the next, the more, the more that this big gap in strategies, in knowing what the issues are, let alone knowing how to explain it to kids of different ages. This is kind of like, it feels like a real pressure cooker that's becoming just increasingly pressurized. And where is the support for helping parents, helping kids learn how to manage all of this? In the absence of regulating the tech industries from doing all of these manipulative and potentially really harmful things. Like, why aren't we supporting the people that we're offloading all of this responsibility onto? I completely agree. It's really becoming an untenable situation. I don't know what parents are doing to mediate it. It sounds like many feel very helpless, and really don't know what to do, beyond bans. Like, how do you deal with all of this stuff? It's changing constantly.
As a final question, we're going to run out of time. Have you seen, oftentimes we'll look and say we should be doing or could be doing a better job of this. Have you seen any place anywhere in the world where the education system does in fact take this into account and teaches digital literacy before you ever get to university?
I mean, it's little pockets, it's little case studies. Certain schools, some private schools have good approaches here.
But not across the board anywhere.
Not across the board. I mean, I would say in Quebec, there are also schools that do bring in computer literacy and digital literacy and try, but the support isn't really there for it. The teacher training is inconsistent. And when we have a government that's focusing on banning one device, rather than really deepening and spreading the curriculum to make sure that kids are equipped and that teachers are equipped to deal with these issues. It's little pockets, but there's nothing systematic.
Unfortunately, that's where we have to leave it. I thank you so much. Very much appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll be talking about this again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Dr. Sara Grimes over at McGill. I'm going to bring this back as a question today. Maybe based on what she just said, maybe your opinion will change as to whether you think this is a good idea or bad idea, banning cell phones in schools.